So yes, Baxterish, wherever you would like to
Hello.
start, buddy. The womb, the military. Because just to give people a bit of background, you're a military man, a decade, right?
I was
10 years.
I was in the Marine Corps for about 11 years, and it was a very colorful and interesting career.
Well, we can absolutely talk about that if you are comfortable. Um, and then yeah, you got out when you found out you had a son. Yeah.
uh, no, I so I did 6 years on the reserve side, and then I re-enlisted for an additional 4 years of active reserve, which is essentially like I've got active orders, I'm on active duty pay, but I'm under like the reserve umbrella for the military for the Marine Corps. Um, At the end of that, I applied to go to OCS. I got accepted. I went to OCS, completed OCS, and then all I had to do was graduate my last semester of college, uh, which I only needed 6 credit hours to complete to get my degree. And when I went to like inform my officer recruiter, I got a letter back saying that I had to be full time, and they yanked me from the program and pretty much messed up my record after that.
Yeah.
Uh, I think they ran me as like a deserter or something instead of transfer me back to like the reserve umbrella since I was still on contract for inactive ready reserve orders. But between me getting out on the enlisted side and going to OCS, I went through my first divorce, got remarried, had a kid, and then had another divorce a year after that. So it was like a 5, 6 year period that was pretty rough at the end of that military career. So now I work in IT.
Jesus. Well, that's basically one of the reasons I wanted to, I guess, start off with you again. Like I have plenty of viewers that are just like, I'm a millionaire. Do you want to do it with me? And it's like, well, like you don't experience drama. It's like a lot of them were just like, yeah, I'll wake up every morning just to like. There was one that was straight up just like, yeah, I wake up every morning and just stare at the sunrise. I'm like, yeah, watching the sunrise is nice. It's like, no, I actually stare at the sun. There's like a period of like 6 minutes where you can look directly at the sun, and I do that every morning. And I was like, your hands have never experienced inconvenience, have they? Like they just like, just, uh, what I'd give.
if I'm wa- if I'm watching a sunrise, my ass needs to go to bed.
Yeah, I was very much the same. That was my problem last night when I got out, and I was like, why is it morning? Uh oh. Uh oh. But no, yeah, this is gonna be. You're a super interesting man. Um, so yeah, wherever you would like to start, if you're comfortable talking about the childhood. Again, there's no oversharing here. I will listen to every little bit of drama you have. So start wherever.
Gosh, you phrase it like that makes me want to just kind of ball up and not talk about it. But sure, quick rundown.
Whatever you would like. Nothing that makes you uncomfortable.
Let's see. Grew up in a small town. Uh, was bullied throughout school. Did okay in high school. Rough childhood. Ended up living with my grandparents when I was like 12 or so, which was very nice. But no, ultimately, after that, I tried to enlist in the Marine Corps or just the military in general. And because I graduated when I was 17 and some change, and my whole family was against it. Uh, So I went to college and failed out of college for a year, and then I enlisted as a reservist in an effort to, I guess, appease people. Uh, shouldn't have done that, but yeah. So I enlisted as an administrator. I was shoot, man, what was I? It's like an '01 something or another. They ended up condensing all the admin jobs into an 0111 job code. But so I enlisted as a admin reservist, went through boot camp, went through combat training, went home for 7 days, and then went back out to my admin school in North Carolina. Um, sometime around like October, I think. It's a 3 month long school. Uh, they say North Carolina's in the South, and it gets pretty cold in North Carolina. I don't care what they say. I remember having to run like a PFT at 6 o'clock in the morning and just like the green runner shorts that don't cover anything up and like a sweater. They're like, you can only wear a sweater.
Oh, that sounds like a real bad rash between your thighs.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
The worst part is just waiting to run so you can get warm.
Oh, that's right. Cause yeah, I've never thought because like again, I don't know a thing about the military, right? But you do everything on someone else's designed time. Like you,
No, you're hurry up and waiting all the time. If the first sergeant or CO wants to do something at 7 o'clock in the morning, your enlisted command's going to come down and be like, all right, you be there at 6:45, and then the next guy's going to be like, you be there at 6:30. And then eventually we're all there at 4 o'clock in the morning and wondering why the fuck we got to wait 3 hours to go for a run. Yeah, no, so I made it to admin school in the worst part of winter in North Carolina where I just froze my ass off for 3 months. Came back to Missouri, checked in with my unit that was 3rd Battalion, 24th Marines infantry unit. And they're like, great, we got a new admin guy. And I got to meet everybody in my little section. And then I got to go to the armory and pick up my 240 Bravo, my M16. And they're like, all right, we're going to Hawaii for AT this year or some crazy shit like that. I was like, I don't even know what this entails. But I don't know, man. I mean, 1 week in a month. We do our 2 weeks in the summer. It was all right. I went back to college, did okay in college. At a community college for a little bit. Did some IT work in between while I was a reservist. We got deployed in 2009, 2010 to Iraq, and everything leading up to that, any training that we did. Uh, I don't know anything about admin, or I didn't at the time, but it was always like, hey, we're going out to the field. We're gonna go do ambushes, patrols. We're gonna go fire some Mark 19s, whatever. So that's just everything that I did on the reserve side. Crew served weapons. We went to mountain warfare training. Hawaii was, I mean, it sounds like a nice place to go in a tropical area. But somehow the Marine Corps just got a knack for making things miserable, regardless of how wonderful it is. So, I mean, we were there, I think, for like 3 weeks. I don't know. It was like an extended AT, I'm pretty sure. And it was nothing but like wake up and do like Marine Corps martial arts program stuff, and then go to the gas chamber and go to swim qual, and you just knock out all your annual requirements. And then they just made up all this bullshit for us to do, like, oh, you got to attend a leadership class and you got to do all this other stuff. And I had only been in for collectively like a year at that point, so I think I just picked up Lance Corporal. It's an E3. Nobody important. I finally hit like the bottom baseline.
hey,
Right, like you're done with training.
you made it. Good job. Jesus. So you went in as that doesn't look healthy for me. You went in as admin. Did you stay as admin or?
Yeah, I mean that was basically my job in the Marine Corps was to do admin, and I just never did my job. Um, I mean, even when we got deployed, we were supposed to learn how to do admin stuff. I think I just got stuck shredding a bunch of papers. It's just I couldn't even begin to tell you. Like it was um it was a shit show at the start. I had picked up corporal sometime during our workup when we'd been activated on orders sometime in like May of 2009. I picked up corporal, and I had just come off of like a recruiter's assistance thing. So I came off of some other set of active orders and I hadn't been with my unit for almost 6 months. So whenever I got the orders and we went out to California for our training, I didn't know anybody in my section anymore. Like, so everybody that I was with in the past 6 months, like 8 people, just they got out. They're like, oh, we're not going on another deployment. We just got back in 2007. um, and this was my first deployment, so they all got out. And this was around the time when they were like, all right, we need like a staff NCO from admin to come to our staff meeting or some shit like that. And we didn't have one. Like, who's the next highest ranking guy? You guys got any sergeants? We didn't have any sergeants. Lance corporals, there's like 6 lance corporals around. This was before my promotion. I was like, this is me. All right, Lance Corporal, let's go talk to a bunch of gunnies and shit.
Jesus.
Great, I'll take notes. Impeccable notes. They started asking me things like, all right, so for training next week, what do we got for admin? And I'm just like, can we go to the range? They're like, you're not going to the range.
Jesus.
We got 6 Marines that need to get their Humvee license. They're like, you're not doing that either. I was like, okay, well, we got classes all day. I'll make sure of it.
Fuck. That sounds stressful as hell to me. Like, just that whole scenario of, like, just there's almost either nothing to do or you're going to do everything. There's no cruise. You either bored as shit or you've got a whole lot on your plate. I That sounds so fucking stressful to me, especially over the period of like 11 fucking years. Jesus,
It's all right. Like there's a pace,
there's a
you
pace.
know. There's a pace. It's not balls to the wall all the time. There's a lot of downtime. You get, block leave and vacation and stuff like that. Which that's just time away, time for yourself, vacation days, holiday days, whatever you guys call it over in
Yeah.
your part of the world. Yeah. So I picked up corporal. Got deployed. Luckily, we had a relatively boring deployment. I think we didn't have enough engagements for it to be notable. We had a couple of casualties.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Nothing too crazy. Just a lot of escorting civilians from point A to point B. But we mostly made it back intact. It was the post deployment where we lost a lot of people to like suicide and stuff like that. Because uh, I mean, I don't know. I guess they came back to a chaotic life and uh, girlfriends breaking up with them, things happening. Just I don't know anything that you can
Yeah.
imagine.
I mean, yeah, I feel like that's something that's not really talked about because I know, as you know, I have a lot of friends that went to the military. Like our friend group was fairly tight knit. Like all throughout high school, the same guys were dating the same girls, kind of thing. Um, but yeah, when a lot of my friends went to the military, the girlfriends were cheating on them, like leaving them. Like there was straight up one dude who just his missus just packed up all the shit and left the house because he got redeployed, and that was it. There was no one in the house for like fucking 6 months. Um, and then you're kind of still forced to pull your socks up and go back out on deployment. You don't really.
Yeah,
There's no choice. They're like, oh, it sucks to be you, bros. Move on. That's
yeah. That's the craziest things happened to people in the military, I guess. But the effects of post deployment and the suicides were pretty continuous. And I mean, even coming back, we had debriefs, we had talks with like psychologists and stuff like that at the whole. As soon as we got back, 3 months after we got back, I think it was 9 months after we got back, and then like 15 or 18 months after we got back. But it's just every time we went back to drill, it was like, we had to have another meeting about somebody who didn't make it uh, for a while. So
Jesus.
Um, somewhere between that and the end of my oh, end of my 6 years. Not really, but going back to Hawaii, talking about doing our annual training. That's when we do our swim qual and stuff like that. That was probably the best part of Hawaii was whenever I was in the pool and nobody was actively yelling at me. Although some of our training requires them to actively try to murder me or drown me. Uh, it's all fine. Ended up getting like the highest swim qual at the time was Q. It was only like 4.321, and then I don't know what the fuck Q stands for, but got it. Got deployed. There was as soon as we got back from our deployment, they're looking at things like we've got all these funds for these active orders, and we got to send people out to do like training and stuff like that. And they sent my ass off to the Marine Combat Instructor of Water Survival School uh, because I was the only one in the entire battalion that went like all the way up to the highest swim qual like 4 years before. So I would never have to swim qual again. They're like, hey, since you did that, we're gonna send you to like one of the toughest schools we got. It's gonna be 3 weeks, and most of that's gonna be underwater.
Mm-mm.
Good luck.
That is a nightmare. That is a nightmare. That is God. You remind me a lot of my military friends. They're always like, yeah, and I'd be in a pool and like somebody would just pull me under and I just have to sort of relax and and it's like that. No, you pull me under, I'm shooting you. That is, I'm stabbing you. If I have a pen at hand, you're losing a finger. Like I play
Yeah,
that game.
I mean, the more you struggle, the more oxygen your body uses, and you kind of need that to maintain
Yeah,
safe levels of carbon dioxide in your body, so you don't start convulsing and then die.
yeah, all that good stuff. My only question is, why do you need to be a real good swimmer to go to Iraq? I don't I don't picture there's
Well,
not a
no,
lot of water there.
I mean, I can't quite answer that at a high level. I mean, I could imagine that there are that there might be a need for some type of amphibious assault from shore to coast, and we just happen to not be in an area where that was going to be necessary.
Good.
uh,
Sometimes I
but I
think
mean, you got to
about that.
remember, the Marines are a part of the Navy, so I mean, ships and water are just part of the package. So better safe than sorry, I guess. I don't know, but that 3 weeks when they gave me my orders, they had a guy next to a pool being resuscitated. Like there was a picture. And then on the other side was all like, you are directed to report to Marine Combat Instructor of Water Survival. And my friends were like, so which guy are you supposed to be? The one being resuscitated or the one resuscitating? So I made it.
You lived. That's good. That is
It
Jesus.
was like, you wake up, you go to the pool, they make you do like a 200-meter warm up. And then you start doing all your exercises, which is just the warm up, but times five. And then they're like, all right. And then test time comes around. Let's go swim 3,600 meters with all of our gear on, take off a piece every 400 meters.
Mm-mm.
Um, they focused a lot on rescues and stuff. Like when you start, you don't have any gear on. It's just like I don't even want to say swimsuit. It's the same green shorts I was describing earlier and like a green t-shirt. So you but then after that, you start putting on like your trousers, your blouse, your boots, your flak jacket, Kevlar, dummy rifle, sappy plates. And then they're like, "That guy's drowning. Go get him." And you're like, "Can I take this off?" They're like, "No, you don't have time. Go get him."
You don't have time.
Okay.
That motherfucker can drown, Bax. I'm not getting into
In
that water.
in a real life scenario, I don't know if I'd be coming back with my rifle.
Yeah.
At the very least, I want to keep my boots. Cause I got like small but super wide feet, and I don't want to be. Anybody got extra boots? Oh, I wear size 17s. I'm good. I'll go barefoot.
I feel that. Yeah, I feel that. Don't worry. We were captors of the same problem. I 100% feel that. That's super weird that the military lets you just have access to your guns. But it makes sense to like, because you're in America, you can have access to guns outside of the military. You don't need to go to the military to see firearms like you do in Australia.
Oh yeah. Uh, Hunting season is a religious holiday around here.
Wow.
Like the schools have time off for deer season.
Yeah, Waffles, my beautiful thumbnail maker, was telling me that like some dude ended up rocking up like at her school in his fucking big old red Ute thing, and he just had his hunting rifle strapped to the back of it. And his school had to just be like, "Yo, can you just like go home, put it away, and come back, please?" I mean, you get busted with a firearm in Australia, jail time. You are going to jail. There is like, especially out in public, there is almost no fucking excuse for it. So to hear that your military is just like, here, free ranged firearms. Go ahead. We know that you don't have the best mental health, and we're not exactly treating you the best. But hey, have fun, boys.
The ammo is very controlled.
Good.
Right. It's not like Full Metal Jacket, in so much that, somebody can just lock and load, but let's see. Yeah, so when I got back from going to Marine Combat Instructor of Water Survival, I was corporal at the time, checking back into my grunt unit with a bunch of just angry individuals with a colorful history of not liking to be stationed at a reserve unit. Because I mean, there's an active duty element that directly supports the active reserve side. Uh, so there's a bit of a little bit of infighting between the active duty side and the reserve side, so much so that we've got a little saying of like "fuck you, buddy, I'm just a reservist," or "Fubajar" for short. And so I'm a reservist coming back into this grunt unit. Everybody that is a reservist is not there. It's all the active duty units, and I'm supposed to check in with like my service alphas. It's a big green pickle suit. It's got this nice hat that looks like I work at a Steak and Shake or a diner or something. But instead, I roll up in my new uniform, that being these nice little tan shorts that barely cover any part of my legs, a pair of pink goggles around my neck. My boots are all unlaced and just looking gross as hell. I had my McQuish shirt on. And I checked into admin. I was like, I'm back, and I threw my orders down. Everybody had a good time, and then my gunnery sergeant, he had a good laugh, and he's like, "No, seriously, get the fuck out, put your uniform on, come back." so so as I was doing that, I had my orders, I had my uniform in my hand. I'm walking down the hallway, and I pass our battalion commander, who said, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm gonna go change, sir. He's like, "Where are you coming from?" Just starts giving me all the questions about why I look like a complete asshole in the middle of this marine compound. So so he had a good laugh. I changed over, checked back in, and got a good talking to, and everything was kosher. But that's how that went.
The best but worst time of your life, huh? But
Yeah.
it always amuses me to hear, ex Marines and whatnot, like you talk about it, because like it sounds so incredibly boring 99% of the time. Like the amount of people I talk to, and they're just like, "Yeah, I was shit faced on campus and base every day of my life." Like periods of where they didn't even go to the mess hall to eat food or anything. It's just like, you got anything to drink? Yep. Yep, let's go. Like I just woke up from a fucking so yeah, to have the in between stories of like, you know, a lot of people in here get heat stroke. I know it's a big thing in Australia. You get absolutely shit faced, you sweat all your water out in your sleep, and then you go out in the boiling hot sun and put. Yeah. Did you ever have to do anything like really odd as a punishment? Again, one of my friends, I forget what he'd done, but it was something incredibly, incredibly like not bad, but just stupid and negligent. Like just something really fucking stupid. So, at one point in the middle of this real bad hailstorm we had 3 years ago, like it is like it hailed, it broke Mercedes Benz windows and cars and shit. So like they had to. There was a Mercedes Benz dealership that was dropping like A class cars for like 18 grand just because they had broken windows and broken fucking everything. Yeah, in the middle of this hailstorm, they're fucking. I do believe it was their. I want to say their gunnery sergeant. I'm not really sure of the promotionary like name of anything. Walks in, throws him a box of matches, and goes, "Right, get outside and start me a fire. You're not to come back until you do." And he's like, "Well, it's hailing, mate." He's like, "Yeah, and the floor's also wet, so here's a fucking mop and bucket. Here's a fucking mop and bucket. Just sweep it all up for me." so, so I was like, "How did that go?" He's like, "Well, it hailed for 3 days." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I slept under like the cover of the outhouse bit." He'd just fucking like, he'd ball up underneath that, and anytime anybody had to go, they'd just kind of step over him. It's like that's the saddest shit I've ever heard. Like, uh,
I've heard some pretty bad things. That's I don't know if I don't know about that.
okay.
Um, no, we usually resort to things like, all right, we're gonna paint these rocks, or they try to find something at least a little bit constructive. Sweep the sunshine. Fucking, I had to sweep a parking lot one time just because there was literally nothing else to do, and I figured that if I took it upon myself to sweep the parking lot with a push broom, they would think that one, I was in trouble, and so they wouldn't mess with me, and two, I wouldn't have to go do all the other bullshit that everybody else was doing, uh, which could have been anything, to be honest with you. There's like an art to trying to do nothing in the military in general, and if you're good at it, you kind of learn how to hedge your bets. I volunteered for almost everything because that was better than typically what everybody else was going to do. Like, we need 10 volunteers. Okay. And then I had to go like load a plane with a bunch of bags while everybody else had to go, I don't know, clean some other shit, or like, I wish I had good examples. I'm dying here.
No, I'm enjoying it because again, it's super interesting to hear inside the mind of a military person who's just like, "Yeah, I swept a parking lot." And it's like, man, you handed me a broom and pointed me towards a parking lot, I'm probably going to prison. Like, it
Oh, I mean,
ain't
I still
happening.
got paid. I still got to eat, do whatever I want. Till somebody's like, "What are you doing?" "I'm sweeping the parking lot." "Why?" It's like, "I don't know. Go ask my gunnery sergeant or something." Then they just leave it alone.
That is that is fair. If there's one thing I do know, you talk to the people above you as minimum as possible. Like, yeah, no, but fucking 11 years, man, 11 years.
Yeah. Uh, so after I got out on my reserve stint, I reenlisted as being an active reservist,
Yep.
which is active duty orders. Full time, wear the uniform every day. Uh, and I got stationed in North Carolina, which when I re-enlisted, that they're like, "What is a list of preferential places that you would like to get stationed?" As a Marine, you got like 5 options. You got like Hawaii, California, Okinawa, Japan, North Carolina, and Marine Forces Europe, maybe.
I'd go
And
with
I was like,
Japan.
"Oh,
Woo.
like I'm saying, I was a single person at the time, re-enlisting. I was a single Marine. I was like, I'll go to Okinawa, Japan, Marine Forces Europe. I'll go to Hawaii, even anywhere that you need me. And they're like, "How's North Carolina sound?" I was like, "The worst. I don't want to go there." They're like, "Well, do you still want to be a Marine?" "How long are my orders for?" 4 years.
Checkmate.
All right, let's go to North Carolina. I'll probably get a better duty station after that. So I was in North Carolina for about 2 years, where I met my first wife. And then I was there not even 2 years, but there's always a lot of growing pains with like a reservist coming onto active duty, because I didn't know my job as an administrator, and I'd been in for something like 6 or 7 years already at this point. And now they want me to actually do what I'd been trained to do 6 or 7 years ago.
Mm.
They're like, "What do you know about admin?" I was like, "Well, the 240 is a crew-served weapon that shoots accurately on a point target out to 800 meters." Like, well, you need to learn how to pay people, so let's start there. So it took me about 3 months before I could actually start talking the talk about admin stuff, and I was just as surprised as anybody else was when I was like, "That's actually wrong. I just read this. It's here. Cite my sources. I'm in." And then I got transferred to headquarters Marine Corps in New Orleans as soon as I learned my job.
New Orleans sounds fucking fantastic to me. I just picture that place smelling like pastry.
More like piss.
Fair enough. So how was your stationing in New Orleans, bud?
Well, like I said, when I was in North Carolina, I had met my wife, but
Mm,
she wasn't yet my wife. And we'd been together for a short amount of time, less than 6 months, I guess. I don't know. Uh, and then I got stationed in New Orleans, where I was going to be put in a barracks instead of like living off base and housing like I'd been doing for my entire adult life. So I had a roommate that was like 10 years younger than me, and he drank every night. So shortly after moving to New Orleans, I married my first wife and got the fuck out of the barracks. Um, that created a whole lot of stressors though for our relationship. Just being in a new place away from like her family and her support system, and me being in a new job at like headquarters, where instead of working a relatively easy and unsupervised job, uh, you're just one of many, and it's like a 12 to 15-hour shift. Like you show up at 5, you PT, you do your job, and then everybody has to get released at the same time, which isn't until whatever asshole who doesn't want to go home finally relents and lets everybody go home. Uh, so that caused a huge strain on my relationship. For the next 2 years, got out, got divorced, uh, went to officer candidate school, and now we're caught up to about as far as I'd care to talk about. So there's
no,
a
that's
lot of in
good.
between there that I left open in case you wanted to pick and prod and pry.
I how do I put it? I'm more than comfortable with you talking about whatever you want to talk about, but I am not a qualified psychiatrist. Like, if you break down and start crying, the best thing I can do is offer you a glass of water, and I will repeat that until you stop crying from sheer hatred or
Just enough to rehydrate the tears.
yeah, like I am and it's something that I am very concerned about with doing these podcast things. Is if someone actually has like a mental breakdown, I am not qualified to deal with it. Like, even in real life, people start crying, and I'm like, "What's wrong with you? Like, why are you crying?" Like, I don't line up dots very well.
Yeah. Um, Other notable things, I guess, while I was in New Orleans, I'd managed to convince somebody down there to send me back to the Marine Combat Instructor of Water Survival, McQuiss. I don't really know if I should say it every time, but I convinced somebody to send me back to it because my all my certs had lapsed, and it's so hard to find somebody who can go there and pass it, and there there's less than 1,000 Marines out of like at the time there's 220,000 Marines. Less than 1,000 Marines were qualified to train other Marines or qualify other Marines in the swim qual. Um, so while I was down there, I'd convinced somebody with the authority to give me some orders and send me back. And I was not near in the same shape as I was coming back from Iraq as I was going to New Orleans, to say the least.
Mm.
Got a little bit chubby. I was still running a first class physical fitness test, all that fun stuff. But um, I made it down there, made it through the 3 weeks, and there was just one particular rescue that I had continued to struggle with, and ended up failing it when I went the second time around. But they did give me a third shot later. I went through it, passed it, no problem. Um, and then I never got to use it. I think I got to qualify like 5 Marines while I was down in New Orleans because
Jesus.
I don't know, something about like I think it's just a thing in the Marine Corps where they're like, "Is he admin? Oh, we got to make their life hell." They're not allowed to go to all hands meetings. They're not allowed to do anything other than sit at their desk and read the fucking McCram or something. which is like the admin bible.
Jesus. Well, it definitely does sound like you've had an incredibly interesting time in the military. Terrible, terrible past 5 years. Don't get me wrong. I can say that with a smile on my face. That
Yeah, like going to officer candidate school was interesting because it's just boot camp again, and like I already did that. Um, the big difference, or a few of the big differences between like the enlisted boot camp and officer boot camp. Enlisted boot camp was 13 weeks. Officer boot camp can either be one 10-week stint or like two 6-week stints, right? So 6 weeks of boot camp, and then you go home and then come back the next summer and do 6 more weeks of boot camp. I've heard it argued that that's tougher, but I didn't really find myself too challenged in any of the training. I can't run it. Evidently, that's an important thing to them. So I did fall out of group runs because I am not super quick,
I feel
but
that.
I always caught back up.
I feel that.
um, you you get weekends off after being at officer candidate school for 3 weeks. So everybody, unless you're on duty, goes out, gets a hotel room, and then like takes a shower by themselves for the first time.
Yeah, that's something that can
uh,
get to me. I'm a sacred kind of shower person. No one joins me in the motherfucking shower. I'm a very sacred shower kind of guy. Don't like being near people. Don't want to be near them. My soap. Get your hands off of
it's not it's not it's not prison, man. And everybody is awkward and uncomfortable, I guess, in
it.
some respect. Yeah, that's another thing. Like enlisted boot camp, you're basically animated as though you were a puppet by the drill instructors. You're not allowed to do anything except for exactly as they say. So, I mean, when you show up, you're looking at the back of somebody's head like 99% of the time. Whenever it comes to showers, you've got like a towel around your waist, and then you're as far away as possible without the drill instructor noticing and telling you to get closer. From the guy in front of you, they wheel you into the shower. They're like, "All right, hang up your towels." You hang up your towel, and then uh, like turn on the water. And then they count down from 10 to 0 in like less than a second. Like turn off the water, and then you got to soap yourself up. Turn on the water. Turn off the water. Dry yourself off, and then that was your shower. Was all of like maybe 20 seconds. And if you if you messed up any part of that, you get singled out, you get screamed at. They're like, "Oh, you're fucking everything else up." They really make you feel good about not knowing how to follow directions. It's the worst game of Simon Says, I think.
Because they never say Simon Says. I know that is the part where I'd fail again. I'd like you be in my ear screaming all you want. I'm having a shower. That water is staying on. I'm being comfortable. You can get like six of your mates. I don't care. All of you start screaming at me. We're on my time in the shower. I don't care. You can be waiting on me. I don't give a shit. Showers are sacred. I don't play games.
Whereas on the officer's side, they're all like, "All right, it's 30 minutes to lights out, so just shower whenever."
Yeah, that's
Okay.
ooh, man.
There's always that one guy that's in there for like an hour. I was like, "What are you doing, dude?"
This guy, this guy. I zone out in showers. Maybe like a minute of my showers is actually cleaning myself. The rest of like the 59 minutes is just an existential crisis. Like,
I can get behind that. Like I take hour-long showers like at my house because there's been that nobody's fucking with me at my house in my
yeah,
shower by
that's
myself. But if it's an open squad-based shower,
yeah, I
I'm doing my business and getting out.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's too many damn people in there. I God again, like I remember because my old mixed martial arts coach was ex-military, and like if you got him real mad or you did something real dumb, it'd flick out of him. You could see that the instant snap back to reality of like what he'd done for like 20 years. And holy shit, like when I tell you he used to literally like snap into like the body structure of like a drill sergeant or marine. I mean like no hunch, shoulders back, neck up, like chin up. I was like, damn, someone about to get screamed at. And 99% of the time it was me because I wasn't paying attention to whatever we were doing. That shit was
Yeah, if
terrifying.
Very memorable bark they have.
Yeah. I remember the first time I ever rocked up to training 2 minutes late, and because I was a chef, I had my work boots on. So I start to like unpack and get my clothes on. He's like, "What are you doing? Get in line." I was like, "We're running." He's like, "Yeah, I don't care. Start running." I was like, "Man, I got my boots on." He's like, "Cool, start running." Start running and shit. End up with blisters the size of pancakes on the back of my feet. He's like, "What are you gonna do about it? You dead?" No. He's good. Move on. I'm like, oh, okay. I pay to be here. It's sad, man. No. That's
Think I've been conditioned so much about the egregious, the consequences of being late, for egregious behavior, being late. That they instill that 15-minute block into your brain, or at least they did for me.
yep.
I'll be bored for 2 hours in one spot to make sure that I am not late.
Yeah. No, again, that's something that he used to do. Like, the club opened up at 7. Really, it opened up at about, you know, 15 minutes to 6. But that's just because that's like, that's as close to 7 as he's comfortable getting. Like, and
Right.
if you weren't there, oh my god, dude, texts, phone calls. Oh, that's about as close as I'm ever gonna get to the military. I fucking that shit was crazy. But,
Yeah. Gosh. Like, I don't even know like what might be interesting or what isn't.
well,
Just because it all just seems so bland. I mean, when you do it for so long and that's like your everyday, it's just like you don't really know what normal people are experiencing.
yeah.
What'd you do? Well, I went out with a company of Marines and took over a fake town for about a week. What'd you do? Quit my job. You can quit?
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be. It had to be weird to come back to like. I don't want to say civilization because that feels like I'm taking shots at like the American military, but it's got to be weird to just like leave the military and just kind of be an afterthought. Like that's 11 years, and
Well, I think the strangest thing, um, I don't know, strangest, like it was nice not to have the weight of responsibility anymore because when I'd left the enlisted side, I'd left as a sergeant. I had like 15 dudes that I was responsible for, ensuring that they were awake every day, at training every day, that they were responsible for their job, that they were capable of being promoted. And that's it's that kind of high tempo thing that's just there every day. Things that you think about after, quote unquote work stops. Um, just so that way you can be a good leader and you can be on top of your Marines and know what's going on. So, I mean, whenever I got out, obviously there was a couple of lifestyle changes that I needed to adjust to, like being single, as well as trying to get a job and work through um, some very convoluted lawyer stuff that made me super sad. So I think mentally I checked out for like a year or longer. I quit going to college. I still don't have my degree, uh, but I'm still 6 credit hours away from it. Um, I've I've been with my current job for about 6 years, and I don't know, man. It's just strange knowing that like the past 10 or 11 years of my life, I I was so interested in doing well, and everything was so structured, and out here it's just like the Wild West. People don't show up for their jobs or they don't care. Um, you can't just ask somebody a direct question and get a direct answer. The it's an entirely different way of trying to communicate with people. And when and when they don't give you a direct answer to a direct question, and you state it 7 or 8 times, you're just like, I don't know any other ways to simplify this for this person. So I go get my boss, and he's all like, "Well, why don't you just ask him again?" There's
yeah,
I've talked to HR a time or two because I've I've said things that I probably shouldn't have. So
Nope. Yep. Completely understand.
there's that transition that's difficult. Um, oh, one of the best notable things about coming back from Iraq was getting pizza, like ordering pizza from Domino's, because sometime while we were over there, they changed their whole recipe. So when we came back, somebody was like, "Hey, do you want to order Domino's?" I was like, "No." And then everybody got Domino's, and it smelled like some delicious garlic bread stuff, and I was like, "Give that to me."
Yeah. Yeah. No, that definitely happened. I
Made my life better instantly.
Yeah. Like I had a similar thing because I don't really eat fast food. And then a while back, my brother Daniel was like, "Do you want to order some Domino's? Like, you want to sling some Zara?" And I was like, mm. And then we got it, and I was like, "Oh my fucking god, this shit's dangerous now. Like, this, I could just eat this all day. Fucking dangerous."
Yeah, they did a good job. I'm
Yeah.
kind of sick of it now, but that was a highlight of my life coming back.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, we're basically done here. That's been an hour-long chat.
Oh, that's great.
How you
Feel
feeling?
sorry for your editor.
No, he doesn't have much to do, and also I pay him a stupid amount of money to do this.
Excellent.
That's a lie. He definitely deserves to be on more. He deserves. He basically just has to cut out all of my swearing, which is a lot. Oh, oh, so how you feeling, Bax? You all right? Wasn't too
Well, I
stressful.
mean, no, I feel kind of bad that I didn't take the time to actually structure or put any thought into it. I wasn't sure if you had like questions or if there was going to be like I guess anything on your side that you're like, well, let's take a look and see what we got next.
No,
So I tried to be about as flexible about it as possible.
as stated, I'd prefer to run this as if we're just friends. I don't want to treat you like a guest on a show or anything like that. I don't think that makes anybody comfortable. Like, and I want you to be as comfortable as humanly possible when you're talking about times in your life that may or may not lead to a 35-year-old man just balling up in tears.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, no,
I
definitely.
was all over the place.
No, it's fine. It's fine. That is how I prefer it because it keeps interesting. If everything's
Yeah,
structured and everything's linear, I don't want to hear about the times you cleaned your car.
yeah, my timeline's more like a Quentin Tarantino film. You're not quite sure where you are.
Yeah,
Well,
but
oh, I'm back into Hawaii.
yeah, but you're always happy to watch a Tarantino film. I've always liked Tarantino.
Hasn't done too bad.
He has not. But no, thank you for being a part of the show. Being the
Oh,
first
no problem.
actual guest, homie.